How's it going, everyone? Alex here, or Dignified Rain, working on TerraFormers, or TerraFarmers, rather. Um, Today we're going to be working on making the inventory draggable, meaning that we want to be able to manage the items in our inventory. We want to be able to left-click them, drag them in and out of squares, and keep track of that information in real time. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So just letting our channel here boot up for a second. I got my coffee, or it's not coffee. I got tea this morning. No coffee today. Decided that it would be better this way. And yeah, I'm looking forward to today. I think it's going to be fun. This is episode 8, which is crazy. I think that today or tomorrow in the afternoon, I'll be doing some edits to recap our first week of development, the first 7 days of development, which took 2 weeks to actually do. But our goal is to make a game in a year, in less than a year. That's a big goal for me. I've never built a game before. I've done some projects, but I've never really built one from the ground up. And so this is really new for me. But without further ado, let's roll the intro. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So to go back to recap on our game, the last episode we left off with being able to harvest and hit objects. Right now, these don't have life values, so we're not really doing anything to them, but we will be soon. We did the art for the trees, and we did art for the rocks, and also being able to hit them as well. And now that we have that, what we want is this left clickable to drag and move around in our inventory. We want to be able to start moving our inventory around, organizing it the way we like. And then we're also going to start working towards repairing our inventory rows to start printing in a style that's more suitable for our game. So, right. Oh yeah, and we also got the Z order working, which is pretty fun. I like seeing, oh, and a render distance as well. Or a pseudo render distance, right? We don't need all of these assets to be popping in all the time. So it's kind of nice to hide them when they're not necessary. Right, okay. And we also have our harvesting system functioning, and the Boyd's movement working properly to move things apart. I'm excited. I feel like in the first week we've made a lot of progress. I mean, fat progress if you ask me. But moving on, we're working on concepts that I haven't really thought about much, and it's going to put us in a place where we got to work for it. So I think those weekly recap videos are going to be important, and we'll give video content to our live streams. I'm thinking about rebranding my YouTube. I just don't know what to call it. I don't really know if TerraFarmers would be a good idea. I think maybe you know, my name, my studio. Let me know what you guys think in a comment section. All right, let me make sure that my I don't want to miss on chat again, ever again. So let's hope that it doesn't mess me up, huh? All right, let's move that over here. All right, so the first thing, we kind of did some preemptive work on this inventory system earlier. And we made a draggable object in our game scene. I believe we did so. right? Am I crazy? We'll find out. No. Drag item. The drag item is a duplicate of the item list. But right now we're not using the item list to build our plants. I think we will in the future, but that's another one of those as it comes up, we'll handle it situations. Otherwise, we want to, in our inventory, we want to create the drag object at the mouse cursor position on the inventory layer. And we're going to set the name of the item. Or when we create this thing, the name of the item that's inside of our draggable item is nothing. And we're setting its Z order on that layer to make sure it's nice and on top. And we don't need this. I don't think. We'll move that there. I don't know what this is for. Maybe it goes in there. We'll see about that later. This should be here. If it has anything to do with the Z slot, it should, or the slot text. Oh, also, I don't know if I said this before, but if you're joining us now, happy holidays. I hope your Christmas is well. So we are already creating this, but what we're forgetting to do is outside of this loop, outside of the beginning of the scene, but still in the initialization, we need to make sure that the position of the drag item, the position, is set to mouse X. So now, you can't see it, but it's always being drawn, right? And the purpose of this is eventually, here in a minute, we're going to be able to click on this and select what that item is and move it around. And it'll draw the item on our mouse. Now, we could create a new item on this layer, but we're just using the UI element effectively, just like it is here. We're not creating... We have an inventory square that has this in it, and we're basically doing the same thing. We just have a blank inventory square, and we're just going to take that picture, right? And that's why we're checking on our mouse whenever we click here soon to grab the ID of whatever's in that square. So, now that we have that, we may even want to comment this. Let's see here. After this, we don't have one in it currently, but let's see here. Right here, we would want to, we don't have anything here yet. And it wouldn't be inside of this, it would be outside. We could load an inventory. And we would want to do that Um, and we'll do inventory saving later in our game, but that's where we need to be logically. Um, uh, hey, what's going on, Sean? Yeah, yeah, yeah. How did your Master Chief collection go there? How's your Halo? Welcome back to the stream. The inventory looks like the way it did before. I think what you missed was us fixing and repairing our hit system to make sure that our trees and stones could be hit. Currently, we don't have an inventory. We don't have a death for them yet. No hit counters to create any objects, but that's coming. And then right now we also have a functioning system for our pickups, where if they are on top of each other, they'll gently move apart. And what we're working on today is being able to move items in our inventory out of the square and into another inventory square, and then maybe clean up our inventory a little bit. Maybe give it some UI. So that's what we're doing today. And I was just kind of wandering through my script here, adding in load points and some other factors. So what we're doing now is we have the collecting items, the use items from inventory, and hide the inventory. We want a new section for dragging items, and we'll want to add that right underneath this. So we'll pull that new thing that we just created out, add an event group, call it inventory item dragging, or item drag inventory management. And so from the very beginning on this one, because I forgot to start to do that for my initialization and some of my other scripts, while in this one, the first thing we're going to start doing is adding comments. So the first thing that we're going to do is, if the inventory is visible, right? We only want our script to function when the layer is visible. So we can just go layer is visible, visibility of a layer, when the inventory layer is visible. So when we toggle it on, we're going to start doing stuff. We are going to, first thing, make a new comment. If left mouse button is down and mouse is over inventory slot, do this function. So what do we want it to do? Exactly what we just wrote. So first we go if mouse or touch, because we may want it to be phone, usable on the phone, right? So in this case, you'd be able to click it with your finger and drag it out of the slot. And so we're gonna go if mouse button is pressed, or held is held down, and the cursor or touch object is touched, and we want to say if the inventory square is touched, trigger this one time. We don't want it to continuously trigger. And we don't want to do anything yet. We want to now check to see if something's true. So this is kind of like one of those true false statements, but it's only it'll only actually function if there's actually something in it. Otherwise, why do anything? We don't need to tell it to do anything. So we don't really need to make like an else statement. We're just saying only under these conditions do this thing. And we're going to say if the number of items in the inventory with the name stored is greater than 0. So if there's an item, I guess we could just say if there is an item in the inventory. And so to say that, we can say inventory has an item. And we're going to say if the player inventory has the item item name, because we're collecting it from the inventory slot. So inventory slot variable string item name. We're passing in a text variable, so we have to add the string, or it doesn't quite save right. How's it going, everyone? Welcome. So now, if that's true, we want the next step. And in this case, we want to copy. So we're going to take this and build another comment. I'm doing this so that way you guys can see more clearly what I'm doing. And I also have written script in front of me. I'm trying to improve upon our live streams here. Doing better techniques to make it more visually appealing, maybe. Make it easier to follow along. I'm new to this, so we're gonna work together on figuring out how to stream. What's going on, Sean? All right. Oops, I accidentally clicked on my thing. Let's see here. Right, so now we need to follow this and say, so if the text variable, so this is a variable, a text variable of an object, and the object in this case is the drag pointer. So we say the text variable of the drag item pointer, right? And the name of item is equal to nothing. Because at the start, it is set to nothing, as we defined here in our initialization. And we are saying right here. We're saying in the mouse pointer to set it to nothing. So at the start, it's nothing, and when we hold the button down, it will be nothing. And so what do we want to do if it is nothing, right? We want to change the index up. So now we need to go back into the same item, which is our drag. Where you at? I keep losing it. Item drag item. There it is. So now we need to go in here and we need to change the text variable again, because we're editing that slot now, and now we're changing that slot equal to the inventory square variable string. We did this before, right? Of name or of item name. Of item name. Then we're going to set the animation, because this is why we duplicated the item list, right? This is an animation by name. And we're going to set the animation of the drag item set equal to we're going to use an expression, and it's going to be the name of the name of item from the pointer's perspective. So that looks like drag item dot variable string, because we're pulling the name of item. And I can't just do name of item because it won't add it in as a string, which needs quotes. We have to do quotes when we're doing our animation. Like I'll show you here, if I delete this, right here, it has to add quotes. And the system in GDevelop doesn't do this, right? We can say radish, right? And then it would spawn the radish symbol. But when we do drag item dot name of item, it passes it through like name of item without the quotes. And so when we say to pull it as a variable string, it adds those quotes. Oh, we use GDevelop 5. And then this needs to be name of item. So it'll when this changes to radish, it'll find radish in the animation by the name, and then it'll set it to that animation. And then when it does, let's see. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do in this, once we start this, now that we have it changing the animation, which let's test this, make sure that works. Let's pick up a radish, grab it. Okay, we have a bug issue, so let's go check our bugs. Go into refresh. Go into our interaction. Nope, that's not what we want. We want the drag item. Okay, it's set properly. Now what happens when... Okay, and now what happens when I click this? Let's refresh that. Name of item is radish. Let's go check our game scene and make sure that the drag item is radish. That's the animation. That's right. In our initialization, let's set the Z order to be the player's Z order. +1. We always want it on top of the player. We want it on top of everything else. Hello? If the inventory is visible, which it is, and the left mouse button is down, and the cursor is on the inventory square, if it contains an item, So something is happening here, I believe. Let's go back to our preview. Let's go back into here. Let's select this. Oh, there it is. It is working. It's just not at the right cursor location because I'm silly. I know why. When we create the inventory layer, it's at a UI level. We don't want that. When we zoom in the UI, it'll make sense. But right now, it doesn't. So, I know I'm kind of bad. So some of you guys are like, what is he talking about right now? Watch this. Very easily, when we create this, we're adding it to the inventory layer, which is not zoomed in like our base layer is. For now, for an example, it's not, we don't want it to set it to this, but for now we will. Just so I can show you, it is working. So we have it. We have our mother-loving inventory item. And we need to fix something. I don't like that it's off to the right. I want it to be on the mouse point. That looks awful. We don't want that. So when we spawn our inventory square, or when we set it, we're going to do -8 to each of these. And we're going to do this again. Boom. Now it's in the middle. Oh mama. Oh mama. That's working. I'm so I didn't know that. I wasn't sure if this was going to work right. So yeah, that's happening. We got it. So now we want it to remove that item though, right? We want it to pick the whole stack up, at least in this case. We can add extra logic for like splitting the stack later. But this is a big part of what we're trying to do. And also, I just realized I don't have music playing for you guys. Let me know if that's too loud or how you feel about that. But yeah, I just realized that we got the... let me pull this open and make it bigger so you guys can see. Let's do another regular playthrough here. Pick up, we can... all this, yep, good. Still working, I didn't break anything, boom. Now we have the item. So, the next step is to remove, right, an item, the item stack. So now what we're going to do is minimize this. And in here, in this section, we need to add... we need to change the inventory square that we're tinkering with. So, we need to change the text variable of name of item of the inventory square to nothing, because we're removing it. And then we need to set the animation of the inventory square set to empty. Or, in this case, nothing. Actually, this is a better naming convention. Because it does have a... there we go. We can set the empty square of the inventory square now. And that way we know we are definitely going back to that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We don't need that. We need inventory. We'll set this to empty. And I just select it through this. Then we need to take into account all text that's linked to the radish or linked to that square. And in this case, we need to make sure that it's linked to this inventory square. And if that happens, once we do that, we want to set the text. So we go back to slot, go back to text, and set it to 0. And then when we preview and we pick something up, boom, we're taking it out of the inventory. It worked. Look at that. Now I can't put it back in. And that's the next step, right? But we have our mother-loving radishes. Oh my goodness. I dare say I am most excited. All right. So there's that. We have that part. Now we have to do this. We have to add the function for, rather than when mouse button or touch is let down, we want it to be released. It doesn't have a held expression. Because we only want this to be when it's released, right? Not when... Yeah, Well, I have to add a touch feature here. But we can work on that. I'm not sure how to do that quite yet. I'll have to think about that. But for now, let's add a comment here, so we have what we're looking for. We're gonna say if left mouse button is released and over a slot. This is important because it won't do it until the button is released. So even if you do left click and you're not over a slot, it should snap back to our inventory, right? So let's work on this. So if the left mouse button is released and it's over a slot, do this, and we want to do the same thing. Is where we comment again, bring something down here. If this, and the first thing we're going to check is if the slot is empty, right? If there is nothing in the inventory, do this. And the first thing that we're going to do is check, same thing as this, but in reverse. If there is not in the player inventory an item that is equal to the item name of what we basically have in our mouse, do something. And in this case, it's pretty straightforward. I guess I'll explain it via text here. If there is something stored in the pointer or in the drag object, usually you call these pointers, but my naming conventions are all over the place in this project, so yay me. Copy the item name and reset pointer. So if not this condition, so if the variable text does not equal blank, so if it's not blank, right? If there's something inside of that point, which right now we're storing radish, we want to change the text. So we can go up here and copy some of our previous work. We want to change the text of not the drag. Now we want to do this for the inventory. So for that inventory square, we're going to change the name of the item. And in this case, it's item name. Just because my naming conventions are terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. I should really fix that, and I should probably do it now. I was changing the variable so that I didn't mess this up, but we can change this to name of item. Go into our inventory, Control F, and change everything that is... it did it automatically. Look at that. That was wild. I didn't expect that to happen. All right, G-Develop. That's cool. I didn't know it was going to do that. Sweet. It automatically changed it to name of item. So now we have the same naming conventions across every item. It has a name of item ID. Super cool. Now we change the inventory animation of not the drag item. I just copied that over, but we want to do it of the inventory slot. Ooh, of the inventory slot, or in this case, inventory square. And take into account, again, the linked items. We can do that very easy. And we want to change that text. Again, we can go over here, copy the change text of that to, we have to say toString, capital T. And the string is inventory. We've done this before. Inventory count. The inventory count of first, it takes an, if you read here, well, I guess right now it wouldn't do that, but that's okay. So this got to be player inventory to another variable, and that the other thing that we're storing or that we're taking into account is the inventory square variable string. Again, we're getting the name of the item. Name of item. So we're doing the same thing we did before when we were creating and storing objects in our collection. We're resetting that slot information. Right? So now, well, we're almost done. Let me finish this little part, and then we'll test the inventory to make sure it's working. Change the... Oh, and now we need to change the name of... the drag to nothing. Or in this case, empty. And we want to change the animation to empty. And we want to make sure now that our drag item, instead of blank, is empty. And that's just leaving cohesion, right? So we pick up our item, and we drag it, and we let it go. You see, it's not updating the count. Because we're not passing the count to the cursor. I think that I may have missed that. I'm trying to think of where I might have missed that. No, I must have messed something up here. Why didn't that work? Oh. Maybe the name of the player inventory isn't this. I gotta find it again. No, it's right there. Player. Let me copy this to make sure I didn't bork it. No, that's right. I spelled that right. The item count. Let's just copy it from our collections. This is right. So we know that works. So let's add that here and see what happens. So we pick up our radish, we pick it up, and we move it. That's frustrating. Let's find out why that's... Let's go into our debugger. And refresh. Oh, that won't work because we need to pick this up and move it to a different inventory square. So let's check our inventory squares, go to our last inventory square, and the name of item isn't being passed. We can see that has... Wait a minute. A Devlog, what's going on? How you doing? Welcome to the broadcast. How are you? It's a string value. So let's check this again. We'll restart our game. Oh dang, I need to do that in debug mode. Okay. Yes, I will support you, I promise. I am using gdevelop 5. Yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Ask away. Okay, so going back to our inventory square. Inventory 1. Wait. Hey, fellas. What? Wait. Oh, it's because I didn't pick up the radish. Okay, so we have the radish. You were just curious about what engine I'm working on? So we have the name of the item. Name of item. So when we pick up the item... Oh, we dropped it back in that inventory. And it froze. I can't pick it back out. And that makes sense because we don't have a script for what happens if it's not full. So that made sense. That bug makes sense. So we won't do that again. We'll grab it and move it away. And we want to now check our mouse pointer to make sure that it has the right information in it. My question is, why are there 24 text slots? But only 12 inventory squares. Well, I don't want to think about that too hard. We'll come back to that. ADHD. Okay, so now we have the radish. So when we then go back to our game and move this to move it to the second inventory square. It's changing the image based on the animation, but it's not storing the item, the name of the item. But that doesn't make sense. let's check this out. So when we get we are collecting the inventory. When we collect the name of the item from our player inventory. We then, when the drag item equals nothing, we then can take these variables, right? And those are working. We set the text to 0 when we take an item out of it. And then down here, when we put it down, we want to set the animation to this. This is right here. This is the issue. I think. No. Maybe? No, this should be the drag. I'm pretty sure. I believe that is the case. Hey, what's up, Clark Rose? Welcome. I do have a console. That is what the debugger mode is. And so we were working on that, and we found that's what I was talking through. But now it transfers because I wasn't copying the information right. So I got that working. Whoa! I just duplicated an item. How did I do that? That makes sense. No, that makes sense. I know why. I know why. It's a very small bug, but we can see that. Because we need to then check. So now that we have this finished, we don't need to add any more to that. We want to create a new, oops, I meant to copy the comment section. Now, if there is something in the inventory. Now let me scroll down here so you guys can see this a little bit better. And then we want to say, in this case, we want to undo this. If there is an item, let's get rid of this, and let's add a new comment saying if the inventory is not empty, and if there is something stored in the mouse pointer, or in this case in the drag item, then we want to copy item name from the slot to a scene variable. Because we don't want the player to control this, we want to copy. And so now we're creating like a storage item in the scene variable. And so that way we can transfer items from the drag pointer to a miscellaneous point, so that way the player can't duplicate items. Copy item from mouse to slot, and copy item name from scene variable to slot. Hopefully this will make sense here in a second as we flesh this system out. So in this case, if the drag pointer, like we did in this one, isn't empty. These are all variables depending on what's in our hand, or in our mouse inventory click. We want to first change the slot variable of hold on. We'll just do this in order. So as we said, if there's something stored in the item, whoa, that was a aggressive crackle from our music there. As it restarted, there was an ad being played, and I muted it. So, in the scene variable, we're gonna go to a scene variable, and scene variable, we want it to be a text variable, and we're gonna call it name of item, and we're gonna set that equal to currently no value. We don't want anything in there. You're feeling like Napoleon? What does that mean? And in this case, we're setting the scene variable on the fly. And so now we need to actually set this to the inventory slot, or inventory square, and then we got to do a variable string again. Variable string. How do I string variable string variable string? What is happening right now? The inventory slot variable. Oh, okay. Where are you from? You're translating. That's why. I didn't have our brackets closed properly. And this needs to be name of item. Hello? We don't... Oh, that's why. It added a toString variable. We don't need that. There you go. My brain was all sorts of mixed up there. Change the text slot, then... Okay, so we need the text slot, the text variable of the inventory slot, name of item, and we need to set this to the pointer name, right? And that's drag item, sorry, hiccups. Variable string to name of item. Because that's our, I forgot. I almost did item name, but we changed it. So we want to set it to that. And we want to set the animation. I think my phone is going off. Oh, it's in my pocket. Cool. Let me just back out of that. Okay. So, whoa, you scared the life out of me. Thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Means a lot. Thank you. Okay. So now we need to set the animation. Animation by name, because that's how we like to do things here. And we need to set the animation of the item square to the inventory slot variable variable string, variable string equal to the name of the item, right? Why? Oh, by name. I had it as by number. And then we want to take into account, again, all of the text slots. And we want to change the text slot to that string text that we had before. And we're just going to copy that so I don't have to do that all over again. And we're doing the to a string because we are setting text, right? We need to add the quotes to it in our system to the inventory count player, inventory square, name of item. And then we need to change the variable of name of item on the pointer to this, to the variable string of item name. And so this one needs to be the scene variable. So this one becomes variable string because it is just a scene variable, right? So we can just go straight up variable string, name of item, name of item, and then we're going to set the animation of the name of item, of the drag item to the same variable as the scene. And now we have a glorious system where we pick it up, we put it down, we pick it up, we put it down. We can move it anywhere in our inventory, and it works. And if we can't let go out of our inventory, and I have an idea of how I want to handle that, but for now, there's that. Okay. And if we immediately let go of our mouse, it snaps back into our inventory. And so, if I pick up another item in our inventory, right, all these, we can move the whole stack. But because we only have one item right now, we're not passing, there's no other loot for us to have. So I think for us to test this out, the very next thing to do is to add a few more items. So for that, we need to go to our pixel edit. And now that we have some trees, we're going to get rid of these because those are ugly. We're going to move our Christmas trees out of the way, move them down here. And the very next step, actually, I'd like to add some tree depth in our game, making sure that our trees are being properly represented on the ground. And so we're going to export our tree again. File, export, selected. This is a node, and this is tree. Node tree. Node tree. I believe. Yes, overwrite that. And now we need to make like a log. Oh, you know what? I really should fix the tree while we're here. There we go. Do I like it like this? Not. Okay, that looks much better. Much better. Okay, so let's export this. Export selected. Node tree. Overwrite that. Perfect. Now we want to make like a log for our inventory. Right? So here's that. Logs kind of look like this. I think that's a log. At least for demo purposes, right? That looks like a log. We'll just add some lighting and shadows. We'll make the log have a darker underbelly. And then we'll add a new color to our browns and increase that volume a little bit and maybe do like a swirl in the log. And now I know I need to increase this log size to make it look better. So we're going to do that real quick. Like that. go up to the top, make this log a little bit bigger. That looks awful because this is the bottom of the log. Okay, that makes me sick. That is not what I want. That's not what I want at all. I think I'm thinking about this too hard. I'm just gonna look up a couple options here. I don't really want this. Obviously, let's try this again. Okay, let's use our biggin, right? There's only so big that we can make this. So I think that's an appropriate size. And I'm thinking this time around, because again, all of our items have a black outline. I gotta keep it in focus, right? We want to do maybe one all the way around. Perhaps. Let's see if we can do it this way. This one doesn't need one. It needs I think like this, maybe. And then we can go like this. Maybe do something like this. That looks kind of chunky, but maybe it'll work. We'll see. Then let's darken up our log. Lighten maybe this. I don't like this color. That's driving me nuts. I think that we need to have like a like more of a tan color for the log. And then we can darken up these edges. Maybe that's the color of the log. And then we darken up edges that would have shadow. Which would be like the whole front of this log. This would kind of follow that down. We would get some of that this way too. Maybe like to show that we're looking at the top of the log, we can kind of darken this up a little bit, I think. I think it'll make sense here in a minute. And we can kind of do like that. And then we can take the lighter color of our wood and darken it up just a little bit to add some feeling like this log it has grains, maybe. I don't think that looks very good. Trying to figure out what I want to do here. We can do some blending. Maybe we have another brown color. And what happened there? Oh, I grabbed the wrong one. And we can add a little bit more of this. And we can add some scatter. Maybe. That's too much scatter. Too scatter. Just kind of hit this log a little bit. And then we'll clean it up. Maybe if we need to. Maybe we can do it like this. Sometimes less is more, right? That is a really big log. When our inventory UI for the radish is this. I think we might have a scaling problem, people. That's a thick boy. Okay, maybe we can do something about that by just cutting this log. I need to add the scatter down to 0. Maybe we just cut down the size of the log a little bit and work off of this. Have some brown this way. this does not look right. This doesn't look right. I know I want the log to have, like... Talking to myself, don't worry about it. Okay. Alright. Alright. Hold on. Have we found what we are looking for? That looks awful. That looks a little bit better, maybe. And then we just wrap this. We can add that. And then we can get rid of some of this dark wood. Maybe. And then go back in and add that lip that should be there. It's kind of like this. Nope. Like this. Why is a log so hard to draw? What the heck? My brain ain't braining today. What is happening? This is terrifying. Also, we need a black outline. Maybe that'll help. Okay. Hey, you know, maybe we add the black outline here instead. And then we redraw the front of this log. Let's do it like that. I don't really feel like we should have black inside, so let's turn that to a dark brown. And then we'll add that shadow here and use this brown as a secondary. And then we can add, like... Let's add that extra shading in here so we know it's a lip. And then... I don't like the front color of this log. Driving me nuts. I think I need to be less picky. I think I'm really causing myself some stress here. Maybe we can do something like that. It still looks so bad. I think that's better. That looks like a sausage roll, like a... Alright. Alright. This is our wood. Is it good? Probably not. Is it what we got? Absolutely. Export selected node. This is actually a item, an object, and this is a resource. Resource. I have to check my dyslexia. There we go. Wood. Alright. So now we have to add that to our game. We can do that by... We have to do a couple adjustments. So in our collectibles, item radish, I see. Let's rename our wood. I guess it doesn't really matter for now. Item radish, we need another one. We're going to duplicate the Okay. This is where an item list becomes important. Do we want an item list or do we want one item? I'm going to regret this, but we are going to want to do an item list. But for now, we're going to check the wood. And we're going to change this to wood. And we're going to add a sprite. That sprite is an object. We're going to call it wood. We're going to delete this object. We are going to name it wood. And add a quantity of 1. And then in our drag item, we need to add a new animation that is called wood to match, right? And then we need to add the sprite wood. Perfect. And then we need to go in our inventory square. And this is why we don't, if I do an item list, then I don't have to do, I guess I still have to do these extra steps. So it might not be a huge deal here. Add this. We're going to call this wood. We're going to add a sprite. And in this, we're actually going to go back to our UI. Add the deselected. Well, actually, we use a selected for the other. So we use a selected tile. Because it has an item in it now. And then we're going to edit that sprite in this. And we're going to import. That's export. Import a file. And we'll do our wood. And we're going to combine it with our current sprite in the middle. As into the existing frame. Boom. There it is. Now we just save it. So now we have the wood in the inventory. We just need to add it to our game. And so right now I don't have the tree spawning, so we'll just spawn wood in our map. We'll pick up the wood. We don't have a oh, we didn't add the wood to the items list. Boom. Boom. Look at that. Holy smokes. Wow, okay. Now we need to... The wood that we have here needs to be on the pickup layer to make sure it has the white outline. Bonk. Wow. Those logs are massive. That's funny. To me, that's hilarious. These little trees are producing huge, thick boys. Yeah. It works in the inventory. We'll see what we do long term. So yeah, now we have movement and dragability in our inventory. Wow, what a thing. Now we can start working on prettying up our inventory. I think that's the next step for me. Visually, I think the biggest change that I would like to see in my game, at its current state, is an inventory change. Something that makes me feel more invested in what's going on. For me, this is a huge achievement, because I've never built an inventory system before, ever. And through the help of many guides and folks on the GDevelop Discord, I've been able to develop the system and understand the mechanics behind what it takes to build it. What happened there? Oh, that's not good. We're having that duplication mechanic. And it has to do with... I think if I move the inventory squares further apart, that wouldn't be an issue. Yeah. That's... Well, we have the functionality of splitting stacks almost on accident, but that's a bug. We're going to fix that. And I think, yeah, so what's happening, what seemed to have happened, was when I picked up the radish, there was this brief moment where my mouse was just in the perfect spot to pick it up and transfer it over. And so it ended up adding additional... Okay, that just doesn't exist. That wasn't even an item. It didn't count that as an item. Well, okay, that's one way to fix that bug. Alright, so now this is where an item list will come into play. So one of the things that just happened was when I picked up the wood, right, and dropped one, it destroyed it. Because there's no logic for creating a item. And because we're doing individual items, I'd have to code each individual thing, what it does when you drop it. And right now in our inventory manager, we have that, and it's use an item. And see, like, if the item... Right? And I think in this case, what we need to do is when we right-click an item and throw it on the floor, we need to check the item list for that item. And so let's go back into here. We'll go into our items list, which is our collectibles. And we're going to say empty, right, is our first state. Radish, add one. Wood, add the sprite. Of the wood. And then we want to name of item and quantity. So when we right click on an item, we're already getting the name of the item from the inventory. If the animation of the square is equal to the name of the what variable do we want this to be? We're going to change item lists to collectibles. Create a collectible. We're going to copy this, and we're going to go backwards for a second. I think I had that right. I think so. But we're deleting that above. I don't know if how quickly this will fire. So I guess that is important, but we'll find out in a minute. And then we're going to change the animation to whatever we just threw out. We're removing. Then we want to change the animation of the collectible to I think here we want to change I think this is actually collectibles variable to string name of item. Create that collectible and then change it. So before we remove the backpack, we need to change the text variable. I'm just going to copy one of these over of the collectible to the inventory name of item. Right? So we're setting the collectible's name. Then we're removing that item. And then if the inventory square had equaled the name of whatever this item is, and it will because we just set it, create the collectible and then set the collectibles animation to the collectibles animation, no, variable string name of item. Right? I think. That didn't work. Neither did that. So let's debug. This is how I problem solve, right? I think I know what the issue is, because my math ain't mathin'. But that's alright. So now we have the wood string. And if I delete it, maybe this needs. I think that this needs to be this. Let's try this again. Is it even creating it on the right layer? It is. What did I do here? Let's check. No, this doesn't make sense. This part doesn't make sense because we're changing this. I'm thinking about this in a weird way. Aha. Wait a minute. This has to, now we need to fix our collision. We added this to our items list, right? Yeah. Hold on a moment. I guess what we can do is see what's happening, right? So we can pick these up. When we right click it, we threw it down. Now, we need to go back into our collectibles, because now it's spawning as a collectible. And it's not getting the name of the item when we create it. Now it's empty. But it knows it's a quantity of 1. It just doesn't know what it is. So we need to, when we create the collectible, which is in our script at the very bottom, no. When we create our collectible, we need to set the collectible's name, the text variable of the... I'll just copy this for a second. We need to add the text variable of the collectible. Oops. To, and this is name of item, equal to name of item of the collectible is set to the inventory square this is not even in the right section. Gotta move that up. Wait. No, that doesn't make sense. There's something funky happening here. And I gotta think through it now. My brain is starting to die because I've been coding for too many hours straight. Hour and a half. My brain's starting to turn to mush. Because we are... Maybe that is it. I'm freaking out before I even try. No. Well, we might need to actually do a new debugger. Let's check this out. Click. Okay, we are creating the right item, so it is setting the animation correctly, but it's not setting the name properly. Is that why? No. We're still not getting the name. Or is that from when we're collecting it? Oh, we got to debunk this again. Hold on. So, let's follow the math here. When we pick it up, it spawns with the right collectible. It knows that that's supposed to be wood. That's good. So that means that as we go down our script, we can say, hey, wait a minute. Check the animation of the inventory square. If the animation is set to that, do this. And it is doing that. But then the name of the item of the collectible isn't updating. Oh. I just had it in the wrong spot. Brilliant. Now we need to add voids to the items list. So we can get rid of these. And we can now go 002222. Okay. So now we're going to get rid of our wood items. And we can literally now drag in our collectible. And we're going to set this to be animation 2 on the pickup layer. And we're going to duplicate that by holding control. And then we're going to duplicate that again, and we're going to turn this one into a radish to make sure our collectible system is working properly. And now we need to update our collision, because in our original script, we were passing a name from our item, I believe. So we need to go to Inventory Manager, and now when we initially collect something, because it's working when we throw something out of our inventory from an item's perspective. And now in our not use item, not drag item, in our collecting item, we just need to set the variable of the name of these, because we're spawning them and they're not being created by something. They have no name. So this needs to be radish, and this needs to be wood. And same with this one, right? Because we have to pass some name variable from the engine. And so we're going to collect this wood, and now it's showing properly. We just need to set voids on these objects. So now we go into our collectibles, go to our behaviors. We're going to add voids movement, because we want to dynamically move these apart and very just gently. And so now we'll pick up our inventory items. Whoop, whoop. And when we put them down, that's a little aggressive, isn't it? Why is that so aggressive? I think our collision boxes are messed up. Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely. We don't need the collision boxes that big. That's humongous. And that's why it's pushing apart so far, or appears to be pushing apart so far. So we're going to use unique item masks for each item. And that's pretty easy to do. And they don't have to be, like, anything special. Right? Now we go to our wood, and we just kind of add some collision mask to our wood. Doesn't have to be super precise. We just want it to be the general shape. We can kind of move this down a little bit. I think that looks better. And that alone should make a pretty significant difference. I just want to kind of keep the black on the outside, maybe. And now that we have that, we can close that out, apply. And now let's check this out. So now when we create an object, they should gently... I say that they should gently move apart, but that's a little extreme. And it might just be because they're two different collision types. So let's grow another plant. That didn't give us anything. That makes sense, because we haven't updated our script for Plant Manager. So before, we were creating a radish. We were creating... That's not what I want. Where is it at? Of plant. Then create, in this case, a plant. Hold on. Create a collectible at the plant's X position, -8. Plant's Y position. Actually, we don't need to do that because they are in the same size on the items list on the pickup layer. And set the animation of that equal to the plant's name. So we need to change the animation equal to the collectibles variable string name of item. So now there's a chance let's do this twice. Now that makes sense because nowhere in here are we telling the plant to have a name. I think this. No. Oh, we did pick something up. We did create one. It's just not setting the Okay. All right. Hold on. We're almost there. The name of the plant. Do plants have names? That should be pretty easy. Oh. Hold up. Hold up, hold up, hold up. I think it's because it thinks it's an onion. Because I named it an onion previously. Okay. That wasn't my growth system bugged out. Okay. We gotta fix the growth system now. Come on. Okay, I did pick something up. What's up, Large Volts? How you doing? So now we're going to refresh. Go down to our inventory squares. And in our first inventory, we're not getting the name of the item at all. I'm doing pretty good, man. Just working on my game here. TerraFarmers. And a kind of a simulation style game. Survival simulation. We're not getting... The name of the string is entering as 0. So does our plants, and in this case we have to check our plant. Our plant is a radish. Plant, radish. It doesn't have a name. So we need to add a name. I am programming. I'm using a visual style of programming, which is in an engine called Gdevelop 5 is the current edition that we're in. Let's check this debugger, though. We're going to relaunch into this development. Okay, we collect our items like we should. Now, does this create a radish? It did not. And now we want to see why. We're going to go back into here. Refresh. go down to our inventory squares, and now we're seeing we are getting the name of the item. Oh, that makes sense. So no, we're still not getting the name of the item. It's entering as 0. And we want this to be a radish. Let's just test that into our system. Radish. Like that. Go back into our system. No bueno. It doesn't know what to do with that item. Sorry, man. Let me answer your questions here a little bit, little by little. Large Volt asks, what language is that? This language is G develop. It's a visual coding, so it's kind of like Unreal's blueprints. I guess you could or Game Maker. It's a visual way of doing coding, and I make my own graphics. For that's one of the other questions that you were asking. Okay, so why you do 3D modeling? Oh, cool, man. I can't 3D model to save my life, so. Oh, nice Roblox games. That's pretty good. That's Okay, hold on. Let's figure out what's happening here. Go back to my preview. Something didn't set right. Okay, so those are being tracked. Hey, it's just practice, man. It's just practice. What language does Roblox use? Like Python? Lua? C++? I don't even know. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know some Lua. I used to code 2D games in Lua. Okay, so in our inventory square, right, we have a radish. And then nothing and anything else. The name of the item needs to be passed to the collectible. I done goofed something here. It's alright. I'll be able to fix this. Uh, I don't play Roblox, so I can't tell you. I really can't. I don't know enough about Roblox to tell you anything about the players or what they enjoy, unfortunately. Let's see here. So name of item. This isn't being passed. Right here. The variable string name of item. Did I name it weird? let's go into our items list here. So in our items, we have collectibles. And then we have plants. And our plant is a radish. And the variable is radish. Undertale vibes. Is Lua easy? It is one of the most forgiving scripting languages. Is it something that you can pick up? Yeah, I think though if you want to learn how to program, though, you should learn the basic functions of programming. Learning what a variable is, what a function is, what an array is, a dictionary, a structure, loops, all of that stuff. Once you learn that, yeah. So it all for Lua, right? You need to learn first before you decide any programming, really, the fundamentals of that. And so the thing that I would recommend is going to go learn about C or C++ and start with a small boot camp course. Go find something on YouTube that you can follow to learn the basics of coding, right? And once you figure out what the fundamentals of coding is, then you can choose what language you want to work with, because there are some truths across all coding languages. A variable is a variable, right? An array is an array. A loop is a loop. And once you know how those structures work, then programming becomes, then it's about learning the syntax, which is the way you express those features in that language. So, like, for each instance of, repeat this a number of times. There's a way to say that in a coding language, right? And I'm visually saying that here, but in another language, it has to be written in a certain way, and that's the syntax. But we do know that we're looping and repeating something for each instance, for each object in this loop, this feature. And so as you develop and learn those basics, right, you'll be able to pick that up. So what's happening here, though, is when an object is being created, we're not passing the collectible. Set the animation, but we're not setting the text variable. And so that's what we need to do. Because that's what's not being passed in our game, right? Well, that's, I mean, ChatGPT will get some work done, but it's not going to replace your ability to code. Because it's just, I mean, it'll show you a way of doing it, but if you don't know how to blend those scripts, then you've got nothing. If you don't know what you're doing, then you're not going to be able to fix the bugs and the other things that come up, frankly. Uh, all right. So sorry. So before we delete the plant, we need to create the object, set the animation, and the text. So now we need to change the variable, the text variable of, we're just going to set this. So we want to, of the text variable, change the text variable of this, set to the plant name variable string, name of item. We want to do that for this. We want that to create 2 of them. This to create 1. So that should fix our problem. When we create a plant and harvest it, let's see what happens here. There we go. There it is. Boom. We did it. Yeah. All right. That was easy. Okay. Let me digest what you're saying here, Large, so I can understand. Okay, yeah. So let me try to explain this in like Notepad. Okay. Oh gods, I forgot that my Notepad is borked for some reason on my Windows. It will eventually respond, and when it does, I'll bring it back. Oh, there we go. Okay, so don't save, close that. Oh no, I just closed my Notepad all the way down. All right, let's go WordPad. All right, so it's only these programs. I don't know why. Okay, so basically, right, when you're programming, you have ways of saying, so in some programs, it's function, and then you name the function. So function, do this, right? And then you have, sometimes you have this feature going on, right? Or it's generally, it's like this. Function do this, if this statement, do this, right? Knowing how to do this is syntax, right? But knowing, there's a difference between knowing how to write this in your language. Each language has a different way of making statements, and that is what we call syntax. And then before you learn this, there's something more important, and it's language structure. Let's say. I don't know what the actual termage would be, but let's say, right, for a language, you need to learn what a function is, what a variable is, what a string is, what you know, what a loop is, what an array is, what a ray is, what a dictionary is. And some of them don't have dictionaries. Sometimes they have what they call structures, or just a more advanced ray. And so when you start learning what this is, these things, right, are the base structure of every coding language. Every single one of them. This structure never changes, really. There might be some variations where a dictionary is the same thing as a structure, and sometimes arrays can do the same features as a dictionary and a structure. And so that's kind of a little language specific, but for the most part, almost everything else is exactly the same. And so when you understand what a function is, and how to call functions in and out of your script, and how variables store data in your scope, knowing that a variable in this function is not accessible in this function without defining it or passing it through and into the function, right? So without knowing how to do this doesn't matter. You'll never make any progress in your language. This is what's most important. Learning these fundamentals. And it doesn't take long. A few hours and lots of practice knowing how to do this. But if you have... Right? Let me let me do this. Let me pull up Bard. Okay? Bard is like ChatGPT, but it's run by Google. So let me pull up Bard. And we're going to ask Bard, how do functions work in programming languages? Right? We're just asking it a simple question. And in this, it kind of gives you a brief understanding of what this means. How you digest this information is obviously, see, we kind of run out of space here. We can say continue writing. Continue. Okay, well, see, we broke it because AI is dumb. It's smart, but dumb. And it has to do with the way I stated that as well. I'm not really blaming that technology. It's my own fault. But I'm just saying, right? You're talking about using ChatGPT. This is the same function. You can learn it this way. Sure. I don't know how great that would be. But there's so many other resources on YouTube for this sort of thing. Learn the basic functions of language. And then once you understand and grasp these, then learn the syntax of Lua. So in this case, the Lua programming language has an amazing website. We go to the documentation. We go to our reference manual. And now we can learn about how we call for statements, right? How we learn how to do these things. And if there's other ways of learning. Love 2D, if you want to make 2D games, is a great language. It's a Lua language pack. Well, yeah, I mean, coding is not easy, right? But then we have these codexes, if you will, or that's a personal question. If you don't like learning through reading, then okay, but so in Lua, a function, right, is always called like function, right? And now we're calling a function. Love.draw is the function we're calling from Lua if we have this installed. And because love.draw is a function that's pre-built into Love2D. So we can go to the wiki. And if I had this installed, right, we can go to draw. Love.draw. Audio, data. Wait, where's draw? Oh. It teaches you kind of right here how to use love.draw. Love. Graphics? It's been a while since I've used this. I think love.draw is, I mean, it's explained right here on how to use it. But all it is drawing a print status. Right? Draw this. The draw function is to put it on the screen, right? So we just found that out. So love.draw is to put this on the screen. A function load, right, is saying when we load the game, and because that's a pre-built function, inside of that function we want to add what we want to load to our game. And they're saying whale equals love.graphics. We're adding a new image, so we need to add it, and we're importing into their functions. These are functions that are pre-built, and we're passing in whale.png from our game file. And so now we're preloading in the whale, and we added a variable. And now we're ending that function. That's all it needs to do. And then here we're saying function love.draw, which is a function pre-built into this language, for Lua 2D, and we're saying in that draw, I want you to, this because it's a different feature, right? Love.graphics.draw. And so we're saying, now we can go into the wiki and learn how this works. So love.graphics. Now, these are the types of things that graphics can do. And here's more draw features. So when there's types, things that we can like add, pass through, like what different types of things that there are in us to interact with. But here we're saying we want to draw. And it says very specifically what this does. We can change this to clear. And this would, at the beginning of the game, clear out anything that's drawn on the screen. Or we can say, in this case, draw. What are we drawing? We want to draw the whale. We're going to pass in whale. And I believe that's what they do here. I wasn't paying attention. Yeah. We can pass in whale, and then we have to pass in an X and Y position, where we're going to draw it on the map. So let's say we were drawing in inventory, which we had established what the inventory was, or in this case, an inventory slot. And let's say we're going to, at the beginning of the game, we want to draw an inventory at 16 on the x-axis. So x-axis is to the right, 16 over from the wall, at a position of y, let's say for now it's 16. And then for the next one, let's say we wanted to draw 3 inventory squares. Like, kind of like how Minecraft has a slot 1, slot 2, slot 3. We could then say 32, because that's 16 plus 16. And then once more, right? We can do 48. And now, these 3 cubes, let's go to Paint. This is probably the best way for me to do this. In Paint, if we were to make our game, we're now saying at the top of our stuff. Where's the? How do I draw a cube? There we go. Draw 1 cube. Draw another cube. And draw the 3rd cube. Because on the y-axis, it doesn't change, right? Up and down. We don't want it to print diagonally. We want it to print across, so the y doesn't change. And we say, make inventory 1, 2, and 3. But in this function, right, we have no data to assign our inventory an ID. So we could say function set ID if there, like just in programming terms, I don't know what the language syntax is right now. So if there is a inventory slot, or, you know, in some languages, for each inventory slot, assign an ID. And now, if we did that and we ended our function, if we run this, so we would say function, see how it says like here, function on load, we would also say run set ID. Set ID. So at the beginning of the game, we want to run this function. I'm sure there's a more, you know, a better place to like put that, but that's how we would do that. Okay, here's the function in our script. At the beginning of our game, load this feature. It says, hey, I need to load this. Perfect. Load this in. And load this function. But if you don't know how to do this, then knowing the language doesn't matter. You can't learn the language without knowing the language structure of basic coding. How functions work, how variables work, how strings work. And that's the big struggle. A lot of people don't understand like what the steps are. So that's my punch and roll version of this is how you learn this. Go learn these things. Well, yeah, because because you're not functioning. You're printing it in the debug screen, in the console, and not on the screen. There's a different command for that. It's pretty straightforward. So we can let's look at Roblox Lua documentation. Okay. Let's look at okay, that's pretty straightforward. Let's look for their print functions. This is bad. This documentation is not what I'm looking for. Okay, data types. You know what? I know what I'm going to do. Give me just a second. I don't have the time to, like, search all this for you, so I'm just going to... once I find the information, real quick, I'm just going to relay the information to you, so... I don't recommend you code in Roblox, for one, because it's a multiplayer game, and you have to understand how servers work, right? And to understand that, okay? So let me explain this to you. I don't think you're ready to be coding, if you're asking me these questions, and I mean this respectfully, okay? I don't think you're ready to be programming in Lua, if these are the sort of questions you're asking, but they're great questions. And I just want to be real with you, so that way we can set some expectations, and then you can kind of work on where to begin, right? And so, learning very quickly, and now I understand what I was seeing. Basically, there are two types of major scripts. You have a local script. Okay, that doesn't want to take my... let's see, you have a look. What is happening here? Hello? Why is that not white? Okay, that'll work. Okay, so here we go. Right? Let's delete this stuff. Okay. So you have local scripts. And I honestly could really just draw this. So you have local... What? Come on. I really dislike the way that this feature works. Okay. You have local, and then you have scripts. And a local script is client-based. So this goes to the player. And this is a server script. You are probably saying this. Okay, that's bugging out. I really don't like the way that this works. Okay, you're probably saying print your message, right? Print, enter the print. And this is how you use things. But if you don't know how servers work, you should not be trying to build a multiplayer game. It's really complicated. And I mean that, like, you have to, when you're scripting, if you don't know how to keep your files organized, you have to know when you're developing something that a local script, right, let's say a player. A player is a local script. So we're going to say that this is the player, right? Every time you add an item to a player's inventory, what happens? You add this item, right? You find the item, you add it to this box, to their inventory, right? Now, this sends a signal to the server because the server needs to know what item has been equipped. You earned X. You earned one thing. Now, if you send this to the local player first, the player interacts with this cube, and then they interact with the server, they can use scripts to change this value. Let's say you only want to give them 1, but they want 30. A player can hack their local script with cheats. Now, if you do this differently and you start with a script from the server, and the server tells you where an item is on the map with an XY coordinate, then when the player, for each player that collides with that, delete that item from the server, so exit out, and then tell the player that they get +1 item. If you do it this way, which is a way that you could work, it would work, but then it opens you up to so many vulnerabilities. So you need to then know how to create a local script that prints to the player that they earned an item, but that's the only thing that they should see. Because the server is the one who's passing this information to this. The server tells you what you get. And that's the best way, and that's just one tiny part of learning how to do multiplayer development. And so, but if you want to start printing things on your, using the scripts and stuff, learning how these scripts work, a local script is what you're looking for. This interacts with your player. This is your player's functions. And then regular scripts, again, is server. And that took me, 10 minutes to Google. So a big part of it, man, is knowing how these things work, reading the documentation. I'm going to be honest with you. You're not going to be able to learn a coding language without reading. So you're going to have to suck that up. And I mean that politely, right? You got to figure out how to work that for yourself. It's really important. If you don't learn that, then you're never really going to be... Well, yeah, I get that you understand functions, but there's so much more to how to build a function. You probably understand some basics. No, see, those are all functions that are built into Roblox. Those functions don't exist when you're coding in Lua. So this is where we get things like frameworks or libraries, right? So Roblox itself has its own, like Love2D has love.draw. That's a function that already exists, like Roblox has transparency. But when you start out with a coding language, there is none of this. None of this exists. This is convenience for you. And you have to learn this later, but this is syntax. This is stuff that is baked into the engine, as well as you have to understand how these syntaxes work to be able to build upon these scripts. But when you first start out with just Lua, you want to learn Lua before you learn Roblox. This has to happen first. Because if you don't do this, you don't understand how to edit the functions in Roblox that they're pre-building for you. A local script doesn't work in in Lua automatically. They don't have a local script. You have to write functions and variables that make them local or not. But you have to know how to use Lua first. And this is why, but this is language syntax, right? This is how it's written. It's like a written language, right? Imagine that Lua is English, right? Let's say Lua is English, the English language. A syntax is how you speak. I like toast. For example, I like toast. There is a specific way to say I like toast in English. And in other languages, X language, it might be toast I like. Right? That sounds funny in English. Because the syntax of this language is different than the syntax of this language. And so Lua is the way we speak a language in coding terms, if that makes sense, right? Let me bring back English. I've already told you what I suggest, but I'll say it one more time. Before you can learn a language, right, you need to know what a noun is. You need to know what a verb is, right? Nouns, verbs, adjectives, right? I'm not going to write all this out, but do you understand what I'm saying? So before you can learn a language, the first thing you do, but you know what a noun and a verb is, right? But you don't know that for coding. And that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the English noun and verb. We're talking about coding. Coding is function. Coding, right? So function is the same thing as a noun or a verb in language. I'm trying to break this down into a concept that you can understand. So coding structure. This is horrifying that I'm using paint to do this, and I'm using my mouse to write. So the coding structure, if we go to the very beginning of this whole thing, my suggestion, to make it very clean, is that you learn coding structure. Okay, coding structure. This equals, let's pretend that this is the basic of language. This is the basics of all language. And we know the basics of language as a noun, right? A verb, an adjective. These are the basics of spoken languages. So you need to learn this first. This is super important. After you learn coding structure, and in this case, coding structure is what a function is, not how to use it in Roblox. What functions do and how they work, right? The same way that we need to know what a noun is, or a verb, or an adjective, to be able to say a sentence. We need to know these structures. And these are true in every language. No matter what language you learn, there are nouns, verbs, adjectives, always. The way we describe words, what type of words they are, people, places, things, right? What they're doing. So we have, and then in coding languages, we have variables, functions, loops. These are all the structures of the basic language. You need to learn that first. The best way to do that, I think the cleanest way to learn how to do that, is by studying C++. Learn C. And don't even learn C, just take a class. Go Google how to program or programming basics. There's a free course on Harvard EDX. Actually, this is probably let me share this with you. There's a free course that you can take from Harvard EDX. They have an absolute stellar program. It's completely free for everyone. Okay? HarvardEDX.org, not sponsored, nothing like that. Go to the Harvard X, School Harvard X. That's an online academy. They have a CS 50. This is the rudimentary introduction to computer science. Computer science. This guy will teach you absolutely everything you need to know about the fundamentals of coding. You should take this course. It's completely free. It starts right now because it's at your own pace. You can enroll, it's free. You get to start learning how to program right now, absolutely for free. So take that course, and by the time you're done with this course, you will understand, guaranteed. Guaranteed, you'll understand this. Once you understand this, you can then begin to learn a language. This is English, right? This is French. Now, coding is C, C++, Java, or in this case, JavaScript, because Java's, right? JavaScript, Lua, these are all languages, but you need to learn the structure in order to be able to learn this. You can't learn this. You will never learn English before you learn this. This is why we go to school. We spend 12 years in school as we grow up, you know, at least in America, to learn this. To learn this. And then by the time we're done with school, we should have a proficiency in knowing how to speak our native language. We're able to pick up a lot of this as children, and we learn these basic functions. That's how children speak. They learn from somebody else how to use these words correctly. We just don't know why until we go to school, right? Or unless somebody teaches us, right? And so we have to get taught this before we can really learn this. And again, that's what this is. It's the same thing. The parallel. This translates. Well, that you don't have to ask that question. I can make Discord bots. I use Python, which is a language. Okay? Python is compatible with Discord. So if you want to learn how to do Discord bots, there are other languages that do work, but they have a extension, a library. And that's what these engines are. They're basically giant libraries that, like Lua 2D is a library. Love 2D, rather. So what I showed you earlier, Love 2D, this is just like, it's a framework. When libraries get so big, they become frameworks. And so a framework is these pre-built functions that are integrated into the language that you already know. So that's the step, right? So step one is learn computer science. Learn how the computer science works. So learn this, then learn your language. So once we learn this, then we can learn Lua. And once we learn Lua, now we can go work on Roblox. This is the step. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And these two are kind of, you could learn these at the same time. So I don't want you to feel like you'll learn Lua by working with Roblox. But you really should spend some time working with Lua first. So that's why it's number 2. That way you understand the way it's written. Again, that's called syntax. how long does it take to learn all this? It depends on how smart you are. Or how not how smart, but how well you retain information. This is a practice. People speak incorrectly English all the time, daily. Can you be a bad programmer and still program? The answer is yes. Yes, you can. How long does it take? That depends on how good you want to be. But yes. You're welcome. I'm glad that I could give you something there. Hopefully that was educational, and hopefully you felt like you learned something. Maybe. If there's more, they do for some people. I don't know how good of a teacher I am on this sort of things. Well, that's great. Excellent. I'm glad that you learned something. That's what's important to me. I really want everybody who comes to my stream to feel, and that's why I'm transparently building my game. I want... Thank you. I appreciate that. I want everybody who's watching to take my code if you want. I don't care. It's not the best. It's not. I want you to learn from this, make your own game, make it awesome. Hey, thanks, Large Volts. You have a good one. It's a little much for me. I feel like they're still moving too far apart. And when I had these settings in Boyd's, but the movement speed was reduced, I think. And we'll do the separation weight of 1. Maybe that's better. Let's pick these up. Got it. Hey, no problem, man. I do super appreciate you being here. This is what this stuff is for. Ask away. I'm happy to help. Oh man, this is really coming together. All right. So now we need to add what happens when we break nodes, but we've already done that by this work here. We just need to come down here in our nodes for each instance of node group. If the hits of the node group equals 0, do this. And now we need to go to our nodes and make sure that our nodes, each of them, have hits. So let's add hits. And our basic node spawner is going to be nothing. And we want to do the same thing for all of these. Well, we'll do it for the tree. And we'll do hits. Now the tree, we don't have other trees right now, so we're just going to do hits. And we're going to say it's like, I don't know, 5 hits on a tree. And now we need to create. And we're going to create a collectible. And that collectible's name needs to be equal to the node spawners, or actually, sorry, the the node group's name of item. And then we need to go into our game and go into each of these nodes. And actually, it needs to be set to the name. Animation name. So, if it's a tree, all right, we need to delete the node. So first of all, let's make sure that the tree's working, right? All right, tree dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're both dead. All right. And now we're not getting anything spawned because it's not. There is no name of the node. I don't think. So we need to go into our. No, that should be stone. Well, I guess, oh, but there's no collectible called stone. Oh, in this case, it's wood, though. So let's check our tree. And we want to pass this as wood. And now our tree should be spawning wood. It did no such thing. All right, let's go check our debugger. I probably just put it in the wrong spot. So there should be a collectible. There should be 4 collectibles now. There are. And the one I just created, oh, it's called wood. Yeah, right there. Collectible. Wood. So oh, we're not setting the animation. There we go. That should work. It didn't work. Where are we creating that? We gotta do that before we delete the node. For one. Hello? Okay. That makes sense. Wait, hold on. I realized what happened. There's a chance. Okay. We're not quite getting there. We're almost there. We're almost there. What am I missing here? That's funny. This needs to be node group X, node group Y on the pickup layer. For now. Let's do this. Okay. So, the name of the item. There we go. Yes. Yes. Sweet. Sweet. Okay. Oh. Sweet victory. Sweet, sweet victory. We got trees that spawn wood. We got wood. We got wood. Dense forestry. Okay. Okay. Progress. I feel like a legend. Feel like a legend, bro. All right. I feel like a genius. Feel like a genius. My phone's blowing up. Oh god. Everybody wants something from me today. All right. Woo. Okay. So next, we really got to work on this flippin' inventory. All right. Two things that we're gonna do. Okay. First thing is it's time for us to export stones and coal. So let's export our selected. We want this to be this is an item. Objects, browse, nodes, items, stone. Oh, we do have it in our game already. Perfect. Let's rename this. Item, wood. Just to have those naming conventions. So inside of our nodes, right? Whoa! Don't do that, please. Inside of our objects, we want item underscore. Oh, we already have it. I don't need to do that. We already have it. So we have these two. So now it's time for us to add them to our game. And it's a little bit of a process. And I don't mind doing that for every item. So now we go to our collectibles. And now we add the stones. Yep. That's not what I meant to do. Oh, no. Add a new animation. Call it stones. Or stone. Add a sprite. Add the stones. That's good. Add a new animation. Call it coal. Add a sprite. Coal. Go to the collision points on stone. Adjust that. That's humongous. We don't need that. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It does affect how the Boyd's movement works a little bit. And so that we might want to adjust later. So, don't quote me here on this being perfect, but I think that'll work. And then for coal, we just need to shrink that down. Something reasonable. The item is small. Just get as much of that item as you can inside of the collision zone. Other engines use collisions differently, of course. So now, make a 4x4x4. What do you mean? What's up, Armstrong? Welcome. Now that we have the collectible added, we can... That should work. Right? Yeah, except for we have no inventory square for this. So now we need to add a new animation. Call this stone. Call this coal. Add a sprite. And this one is where we go back to our UI. Add selected. Do the same thing here, just so we don't have to do it twice. Now we have selected, and we're going to add, import a, that's export. We need to import an image. To be an object, and we want this one to be stone. Import it as a single image. Combine with our sprite in the middle and in the existing frame. And we save it. There's our stone. Same thing here. Edit with this. Open. Image. Coal. Yep. Combine. Middle. Next. In existing frame. Save. And now, as we pick up our ingredients, they spawn, and we pick them up. We have inventory items. Okay. Oh, and then I realized that we also... So this is an interesting thing. In our collectibles, our drag item needs to be the same as our collectible. But because it's a different thing, right? We just need to add our sprites, add stone, and add coal. And I have to do this every time we add a new item, but that we can build or pull or move around. And that's okay. I don't mind doing that. It might become a hassle later on, but at the moment, I don't really feel like it matters. And coal. So we're going to beat up this rock. We got it. Beat up this tree. Got it. Got it. Got our plants. And now, when I pick it up and bring it out, we have it. And then we can go put it in our inventory. If we just click it once, it snaps back in the inventory. But if we click and hold it to drag it out, there we go. It works like it's supposed to. Now, eventually, I might now grab this, and then, hey, Kyra, thank you for the subscription. Or Kira? Kyra? Why don't you let me know? Okay, so now our inventory is working. The next stage is for us to develop the visuals of this. So I'm going to be able to throw... I think this will work for now. I don't want to have to throw items out yet, but we will add that later. And that way, right now you can right-click to throw it on the ground in your inventory. It spreads out nice and even if you add other stuff to it. I think that looks good. All right. Sweet. All right. Our drone does the planting for us. We need to add some seeds to our game, so that way we can now plant if we have a seed. But I think the inventory setup is the next thing I want to work on. So these are 16 by 16. But they're zoomed in 3 times. So they're really 48 by 48. And that tells me that we need to go, for our inventory system to look good, we need to have 48 by 48 cubes. So let's work on that. Let's work on our user interface. So one of the ideas I had was these big squares that that end up generating sort of like terraformers, astroneers, sorry. Let's see how we're gonna do this. Let's go new. We're gonna save this. We're gonna go new. We're gonna go 48 by 48 and a tile. Wait, no, this is 48. Sorry, 48 by 48 and a tile of, we'll do 3 by 3. For now, we're gonna go to our space farmers. We're gonna copy this brown, which we can just add. All right, let's get rid of all this. Okay, so we got this brown. We can add we'll add this one as well. How do we want our inventory to load? And I think it would be pretty cool if we did like I want to change the way that our inventory works. I'm just trying to think of how I want to go about doing this. I think it needs to be Dale colored. So let me work on some basic concepts here. So I think the first thing we'll do is we'll build a rounded corner. Kind of like that. We'll go back into our cube and we'll stretch this all the way across. And we'll do this. Honestly, we could just do it like this. Just build a cube that's like, what, 4? Yeah, it's 4 thick. Okay. So we're going to build a 3 by 3 frame, which is going to be the... oh, this apparently needs a little bit of love. I didn't do that one right. That is correct, right? 1. Yeah, okay. 4 by 4. For some reason, the top seems smaller to me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I'm just crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So one of the first things that I'm thinking of, right, is like some more traditional inventories. What we want to start with is a inventory that has scalability. That way the inventory can grow and expand as necessary. How do I want to do that? I'm not sure yet. I'm really not. Simply speaking, we could do let's see here. A dark 1 pixel outline on the edges. Starting there. And then we can add, like, let's say a dot So we'll need a brighter orange to represent this little stray dot. And then we can maybe round our corners out. So maybe we don't do 4. Maybe we do 3. Let's just see what this looks like. We'll take this down as well, all the way across. One, 2, 3. Okay, now we're at a 3 by 3. And this one is actually 2. What is happening here? Like that? I think. One, so 5 by. This is 4 by 4. What's going on? Copy, flip, put it in there. 1, 2. Oh, I see. I see what I did. Okay. That makes sense. And then just add an orange there. All right. So now we have the basics of an outline, right? If we wanted to, we could bring this in a little bit. So that way we have more of like this. If we wanted to add, this looks goofy. We want it like that. Sometimes we want to do 3 across. 1, 2, that's not good enough. 1, 2, 3. And just so we have some like edge rounding, you know? So I think what we're going to do is now delete this square, paste it, flip it, delete this square, paste it, flip, and then vertically. Oops. I forgot how to do Control Shift F. Okay. Copy this, delete this, paste this, flip this. All right, so now we have an outline. And inside of this, excuse me, I burped. We're going to go back into our Dale colors and take kind of a flatter inventory color and add it to the background. And then we could build from this, right? We can then build our inventory squares. So now that we have this, this is technically infinitely tileable because you have an end piece, another end piece, and a middle piece. And this middle piece just replicates itself over and over and over again as we need to stretch in all directions. So we could add fancy borders here. You know, we could do something fun to really bring this system to life. But that's one of the things we need. So we're going to leave that. We're going to copy the edges. And let's see here. We can let's make this 3 by 3. So let's get rid of that. And then the next, and then the next, right? So now we have in our tiles, we have our tile set. So then we can go into this. We right click, deselect all these, add a new one that's blank. Do that and then deselect them. All right. So we can now go to our canvas and make this, let's say, a 9 by 9. And what we want to do is build a inventory that may represent our game inventory, just like making it as, you know, look like the inventory that we're trying to build. So now we have the framework, the outside of that inventory. So now what we need to do inside of this, because these are 48 by 48, right? But inside of that, we want like 32 by 32. Come on. There we are. So this is going to be the size of the squares that we bring into our game. And now we can add, like, let's add, now that orange is fine. Let's add a new one. And let's make this black because all of our stuff is black. We can maybe make this one the same sort of rounded as the other one. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, border, 1, 2, 3, border, 1, 2, 3, border, 1, 2, 3, border. Just clean this up. Make sure that this stays inside of the realm of 32 by 32, which I think I broke the realm of 32 by 32. By 1 in every direction, okay? Shrink it. Move it over. Now, can this be a 32 by 32? It is still one. Oh, no, it's not one tall. I think it's perfect now. Yeah. So now, right, if we had our inventory, that's the way it would look. Not bad, not great. So let's say that for this inventory square, this particular one, we want to restrict it. Oh, go back here. Restrict it to the tile. We want to get rid of this middle. We're going to pull this out. And we're going to turn it into its own little thing. And then we're going to take this and fill this back in. We're going to add a new layer. And now we can demo what our system might look like if it was smaller. So let's take a look here. And then we can just, I think, how do we clear these? No, shift click. Yeah. Now we can shift click and remove these. And now that's what our inventory looks like. Oh, don't do that. All right. And so now we can take that system as like a backpack for our player. So this is like Astroneers, right? And we have, oh, let me fill that in. Let's take a brighter orange real quick. Yeah, that'll do. And fill that in. We could add some of this, and I don't think that's a bad idea, actually. So we're going to make sure that we didn't mess that up. All right. We're going to add orange to the bottom of this to make them pop a little bit. Maybe we even add it all the way up. Can we do a full highlight? How does that feel? It's all right. Has a little bit of character to what we're doing. I don't know if I want to replicate that in here, though. Hello. Oh, right. Right. These would all... Wait a minute. Why is that happening? These aren't even the same... Hello? That was a weird bug. Okay. It went away. I don't know what that was about, but there it is. Let's see here. We're just going to add this to every square. Kind of see how this pans out on the big one for now. It's all right. For our first crack at an inventory system, it's not bad. I mean, compared to this is madness. This looks like garbage. We're gonna fix this. So we're gonna find the center of the screen and offset it by like 32 pixels. So let's redo this. So now we have our inventory square, and I need to add trim to both of these sprites. And now I need this one, 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 and this one. So we got to do 2 layers. We're going to have to generate this scalable thing. And then we're going to have to inset these. How far do they need to be inset? Let's see. From the edge, because this is going to be our origin, right? So we know that we need to place this guy at the top of the 32 by 32. So let's check 32 by 32, which will be this square right here. This one. So from this corner to that corner, it's 8. So 8 in each direction. 8 down, 8 over. Because we're going to take the top corner of the inventory square. And then say, basically scale this thing depending on how many rows and columns there are. I believe. For now, we're going to spawn these on a much bigger grid. So we got to go to our game. Well, at first I got to export this tile for one. Right, so now we're going to take the tile. We're going to export it into... Wait, what? Export selected. No, that's not right. We want to do TerraFarmers, sprites, objects, UI, selected. This is, now it's not either of these. It's just inventory square. Or we'll just do inventory UI. So we have that. Let's save that. We'll go back into our game. We'll go to our UI square. And we're going to change the sprite to be the new UI. But now what's going to happen is our UI is going to be overlapping itself. It's off. Because these squares are bigger. Right? Because the square is actually here. And they're not printing on the right grid because in our inventory manager, we are printing our grid. Is it in the initialization? It is. At 32 by 32 when it needs to be 48. Because that's how big they are now. Oh, I did that backwards because I'm dyslexic as heck. Okay. Also, I just realized that I'm going to close that. We don't need that anymore. My music. Where'd my music go? All right. We're going on 3 hours here in the stream. This is long. All right, 1 second here. Okay. Let's make sure that that's printing right. Oh, we don't have a point for the numbers anymore. I actually kind of like the numbers beside it for now. No, I don't like that. That's a fib. I don't like that at all. However, we do have natural spacing now between our prints, so we don't need to add those differences. What we need to do is then add the... We're going to go back in because I do like this method. Go to our inventory square, and now we have to recreate every one of these. So we're just going to delete them. Add a sprite. Add the inventory UI. And we're just going to quickly do that for each of them. All right. All right. I can't duplicate this, so that's fine. Add a sprite. There we go. And now we go into Radish. Edit. We don't need 2. And that is not the corner that I thought I selected. Wait. Why did that happen? Okay. Let's go back in here. Oh. Oh. Right. The grid. The grid is not set up properly. Okay, stop flashing, because you're going to make me really sick. Preferences. Resize to 48 by 48. So it's actually best if I just delete everything. Wait, did I not do that already? Let's delete the empty. And we're going to add a sprite. Inventory UI. Edit. Okay, now it's working. Radish. Edit. Edit in pixel. What? Why is that importing weird? Why is this happening? Why? We're just going to delete each of these presets and start over. Add a new animation. Add sprite. It should be based on the sprite's original size. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to import image, objects, growables, onion. We need to add this to our game in a more reasonable place. So we're going to move this back to sprites, take the UI icon, put it back into objects. We're going to create a new folder called items. That in there. We're going to take item. Take each of these out. We'll call this node. I told you to rename to, thank you. Why? Rename. All right. Whatever. And we're going to take these items, put them in the items section. Just to organize our file set here a little bit. Rename this to item radish. Browse, sprites, objects, items, radish. As a single image. Combine with our sprite in the middle. As an existing frame. I misclicked. Got to do that again. Items, yes. Combine, middle, next, in existing frame. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, shucks. I guess that radish is just going to be slightly off center. And I guess that's okay. My OCD is twitching. I'm going to leave that alone. Okay, this is now radish. Add new animation. This is wood. This is stone. This is coal. In the wood section, we're going to add the inventory UI again. We're going to do this quickly for each of them, so I don't have to do this again. Now that we figured out what the issue was. Okay, that one's blank. We don't need that. Coal, create, UI. All right, now for the wood, add sprite. Items, objects, items, wood. Yep, I didn't mean to do that. My brain's not working. Import, file, wood, next, combine, middle, into existing frame. Save that. Stone. Okay. Same thing. Edit. Import. Image. Stone. Next. Combine. Middle. Existing. Save that. Coal. Add sprite. Nope. Pixel edit. Import. One more time. Okay. Then we're going to edit the point. And we're going to add a slot text. And that is going to be right here. And that way, where our numbers are being added properly. They're not. Because they're spawning on the origin now. We want to find why that's happening. So, back to our inventory manager. Back to the position in which we are printing. It's called quantity. No, slot text. That's right. Oh, at the quantity point. So I did name that wrong. So, in the points, not text slot, quantity. And now, they're a little off center, but it's there. Right? And now, if you grab in the general vicinity, it grabs it correctly. And I accidentally just duplicated items. But then it fixed itself. Because it knew that we didn't have more than 2. So let's go back to our inventory square, go back to our quantity, our edit point quantity, move it up and a little to the right. $28 by 13. Not quite high enough. It may be too far to the right. We'll go up more. And go out 1. All right. Now we have that functioning. And yeah, our inventory still doesn't look great. At least we have something a little cohesive. That we can clearly see everything that's going on in our inventory. I need to add a bit text. So that way we can fix the font. So that it's crisp and bit and not Times New Roman and blurry. have all these items that we're picking up. Actually, wait a minute. Trees should be disappearing and then also respawning. Let's see what happens when we harvest. I need to know if this system is working. Because at the beginning of the scene, we have certain things happening, but there should always be trees. And if not, we need to set a timer for that. So I'm going to clear out a whole corner. Like up here. And see what happens. Do we have more in one direction? It doesn't look like they're respawning. And that's okay. And right now I've been just collecting this wood. You haven't seen it spawn because I've been standing on it. And there's no trees up top anymore. So we know that they're not respawning. Or they would be spawning somewhere up here. So our trees are not finite, or are finite, and not what we want them to be. So we're gonna fix that. All right, perfect. Wow. Okay. Man. Stones. We have coal. Inventory's working. The only thing left to do is like fix how the inventory's printed and then move it. And then it's just about building features into our game, because then our inventory works. It's about creating enemy logic and seed planting. Okay. So since we're also here, let's, I noticed that we didn't, in the beginning, I said I was going to change my tree. And we're going to remove that sprite, and we're going to add a new sprite, because I built a new tree node. And added in shadows. So now the trees actually have an impact on the ground in terms of having a visual cue that there's something there. Okay. Wow, it's just like, it's just working. Like, it's, to me, it's amazing. Because I've never done this before. Shoot. That's my bad. Okay, so now we need to go back and address the collision of our tree to be like strictly actually the tree. Do something like this. Right. And then we want to move the origin point of the tree to actually the root of the tree. And that way, we're snapping our... Okay. All right, we need to go back to our script and see in our planting manager when we're snapping to something. Oh, we're snapping to the center, not the origin. That actually makes way more sense. So we're gonna take our origin point and move it back up here, and then move our center down here because we want our we want that to happen. And then we're going to spawn our objects now in the center. So before it was just the XY position, but that's not the center. We want to do point X center and point Y center on these. And then similarly, when we're spawning, we want to spawn it at point X group in the center. Oops, got the quotes. And same thing on the Y. And now items will spawn as they should in the center of the object. There must have been 2 trees that I killed. Oh. -8 on each of these because the it's 16 by 16 and we're spawning them now off center. Because the items that we're picking up are spawned on a grid because the origin point's always the same at top left corner, and that's just for convenience, right? And so center, even though it's spawning in the center, right? The center is right here on this item. So if I'm spawning it though, it's spawning from the origin point. So we need to take that into consideration. So now when we break our tree, there we go. And now when we break our rock, there we go. Fix that little issue. Now it's... Oh, there's 2 trees on top of each other. Huh. And that's because the collision box is... How are we drawing these trees? It's in the inventory manager, right? No. It should be in the world generation. Let's look at how we're making our trees. There's something goofy going on here. Okay. Plus the height of the node group, maybe? divided by 2. Because I only want half of the node to cover me. Perfect. That is not good. We're having generation now over top of each other. That should not be that way. And it has to do with something I've done to the tree. It's got to be the tree's collision box. Let's check out... No, yeah, it's got to be the collision box. We can make the collision significantly bigger. And it needs to be. Because the origin point of the stone is off. There we go. Now, 2 trees shouldn't spawn on each other either. Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Good. Only 1 tree. I'm gonna run around hitting trees. Make sure we don't have random trees in each other. One of the other things we need to do to now make it so that these objects always spawn is in our world manager. When an entity is destroyed, and actually it's in our planting manager, we also need to minus from this group. So delete it, and then we need to go to where's it at? I gotta start closing some of these stuff. Okay, we don't. It's not an action. Close this down. Oh, it is an action. It's underneath the harvest. We need to change the plant. So we can start with plants before we go to nodes. No, that's nodes. It's a node in our nodes. In our nodes. Underneath this, we need to add another condition. So if, oops, come on, Shift W here. If it was a node, so if the node that's hit was a tree, no, if it was wood, then we need a -1 from our trees. Somewhere in here, I thought I'm not in the right section. I don't think. No, I am. But here's where okay, hold on. Okay, so here, for each instance of spawned tree that is destroyed, so that is, oops, that is delete. Remove. Delete. No. Big brain moment here. If we delete a node, we need to... Okay, so delete a node. For each instance of node group that is set to 0. If it is a tree spawner, that how do we do it in this? So create one, delete the node. If the okay, we need to add a type to the nodes. So node behavior, add a behavior, call it type, add it to the top. Type is a string. This is node spawner. Oh, no. Hold on. If the animation, we can do it via animation. I was thinking about this weird. So now we can say if the animation of that node, so if the node group animation is wood, then change the scene variable of we're going to go check our world manager here because it is a scene variable of spawned trees to -1. So scene variable, we just copy that, go here, paste it, subtract 1. So potentially another tree just spawned. And the only way to check this, actually, or a quick way to check this, is to go to our debugger. We might need to move it around. All right. So we're going to go into here and we're going to check out how many nodes we have. We have 49. Didn't I tell it to make 64 trees? I could have swore I told it to make 64 trees. All right. Well, we're just going to... Maybe not all of our trees are grown. I don't know. So we're going to take that, and we're going to beat this tree up until we get wood. We're going to refresh. And it spawned another node spawner. So that did work. But is that node a tree? Let's take a look at this. We gotta go back into our preview. So now that we break a tree, now we have 52 trees. That's whack. So what happens when I break another tree? We have 51, and nothing else is spawned. Okay, let's try this again. Wait, did that? No, they're spawning. Why is that happening? Oh, Lord. Let's go check our, we don't need this anymore. Go check our nodes and find out what is happening. Whoa! There are so many nodes. Why are... nodes are just growing. I don't know why. All right, let's go back to our world manager. Okay. For each time. Okay, why our stone is changing, I don't know. We're going to go backwards and find out what we did wrong. Okay. How do I check if something's... Okay, hold on. For each... for each instance, right? So if the... if the text, if the animation, this is driving me nuts. It's all right. We don't need this right now. Trees aren't going to respawn. Not yet. Our stones are going to have a hit 10. And then we'll add a rarity score to it, and the rarity score will get added to the math. And that way, if it knows it's of higher rarity, like coal, for example. Okay, why did that change? Was the map not done spawning? See, I don't know. That is spawned. Things are changing. And it's freaking me out. We're just going to go back to this. Because... Okay. Okay, now I don't think items are changing, at least. Trying to pay attention to see if any of these... Alright, that's not good. We don't want these stacking on each other. Why are they doing that? Node spawner, edit points, center and origin. Makes sense. Cancel that. Tree spawner. Edit. Okay, we'll move the center up a little bit. Go back to true center, I guess. Just to see what happens. These are spawning on top of each other. But they're definitely in collision with each other. So that doesn't make sense to me. Okay, I do want this down here. But why isn't my collision working? Go back to our world manager. Okay. Oh. Do I actually need this? For each of these? It'd be kind of whack. But I guess I might. I don't know. Oh, right. Let's figure out what's going on here. Had a message here on Discord. Let me move that over. All right, you know what, guys? I think I've streamed enough today. We fixed that little issue. I don't know if that just spawned in or... Why do we have so many more nodes? Okay, that definitely just... Uh-oh. Nodes are spawning! They're spawning everywhere! We'll work on this on the next episode here. So thank you guys for stopping in. I super appreciate it. We're gonna come back to this. So I'll see you guys on the next episode. You guys know what that means, right? We gotta roll the credits. See you guys next time.